Hello, by racing. Go ahead and
For the first time in 5 seasons of competition, Thursday Night Thunder makes its debut at Lime Rock Park for My Racing's Lakeville, Connecticut. I'm Rick James, next to the all-too-eager repeat 1975, Mr. Pete Ruzick. Welcome to Lime Rock. Welcome to another TNT race. What's going on, buddy? Good to be working with proper villains once again.
Rick James, as I said a few weeks back, my broadcasting brother from another mother, up in Connecticut for this turn left, turn right, 1.5-mile road course. Glad to be back with you. Not at an oval, but man, it's going to be all that much fun all the same. How are you, sir?
Ready to get this race rolling. We have 19 participants on the registry. Patrick Allen not starting this race as is typical, so Aiden Norman will lead 18 cars down to the green flag, waiting for the start of this race. Green flag waves, let's go racing from Lime Rock Park. Pete through the first couple corners, what they call Big Bend, then through the S's, coming up to what's normally the chicane section, but for these drivers, it's going to be just that single right-hand corner. There you see the track facts illustrating one car already around, trying not to come back onto racing traffic. It's the 48 of Tristan Catania who's had a spill on lap 1, Pete.
Yeah, not only Tristan Catania, a little bit before that, Cody Riggs had a little bit of an issue going off track. And Rick, going up and over that corner, up and over that hill, it is very, very blind. If anybody's had a little bit of an issue, these guys are going to have to worry about getting on those binders really quick and slow and woe these things up so they don't get collected. Man, it's going to be a great race. Working now just lap 2 of 70. I cannot wait to see who's going to be able to put it all together and see those checkered flag first. There we go.
A Norman leading by 1.2 seconds into the early goings on. He's already up the hill, getting ready to go through what they call West Bend. That chicane, and then what some people might just know as the last turn at Lime Rock Park. An incredibly famous racetrack, Pete, but not normally for the Cup Series. I think the closest NASCAR ever came to racing at Lime Rock Park was the K&N East Series. Took their turn here. Pretty good race overall. But now it's good to see. It's good to see Thursday Night Thunder, albeit sim racing. Hey man, the Cup Series is at Lime Rock, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned that that very, very last turn. That is an extremely fast turn as well. You can really come down that hill, carry a whole lot of speed, as we just saw Aiden Norman do in that number 62. And it seems like so far he actually just went purple, Rick, running the fastest lap of the race here on lap number 3, running a 53.1. That's not too easy to do, considering most of his competition is in the much higher 53s, 55s, 56s, and so on. So Aiden Norman right now is showing everybody else how to get it done.
Norman leading Tom Sears by 1.5 seconds. Further on back, defending champion Thomas Andrews now gets around Matt Kent in that number 31 City Chevrolet. Interesting paint scheme. Obviously the Cole Trickle paint scheme there, but chrome. And he sits ahead of Ryan Pennell in that number 12 Valvoline. But how about another City Chevrolet paint scheme? Al Simkowski from Chicago, Illinois goes for a spill out of that last corner, Pete. He really binned it.
Yeah, he really did. Now, I tell you what, I'm actually kind of digging these Chrome City Chevrolet schemes. They don't look all that bad. Usually it's more like a highlighter yellow, highlighter green, but not so much. They absolutely pop. I'd love to see these things under maybe some Daytona lights or elsewhere, but it's some nice looking paint jobs.
I know, isn't that cool? It's you know, it almost, I go on about it, but really it is just the magic of sim racing. It just makes it so incredibly fun. And one driver who's having fun, Pete, is Toby Estes in the Jack Daniels 78. One of those Bluegrass Bandits. He's driving that all-black Jack Daniels machine into the top 8 so far. He said he's probably not going to win this race today or even get on a podium, Pete, but with a 54.98, not only does he have one of the fastest laps on the racetrack, but he's our hardest charger of the race so far.
Yeah, Toby Estes in that 78, almost a Clint Boyer kind of a feel from it. Just needed the white lettering on the side instead of the black lettering with the white outline. But yeah, as you said, one of the biggest movers so far, up 10 spots, sitting in P number 8. He's got Briley Wright in P7, right where he started from his qualifying position, and Tom Andrews up 4 spots from where he started, sitting P9, and Rick James, we might as well round out the top 10 with the one and only Matt Kent in that 31.
Matty in that City Chevrolet Impala doing so far so good. Tristan Catania on the outside looking in. Cody Riggs, who had trouble earlier trying to bring that Dale Earnhardt number 3 around the number 40 Matt Kenseth livery of Elrich George, the Clearwater assassin from Nassau in the Bahamas. Now on the fringes of the top 15, Cody Riggs works his way into the 14th position. He's another one of those Bluegrass Bandits. And then the third of 3 Bluegrass Bandits from Greensburg, Kentucky, one Briley Wright in that black and gold TMG 18. 7 laps into this race, Briley sitting 7th. Not a bad run for him so far, but at the front, Pete, the race for first is getting a bit closer. It's Norman, Sears, and Belleville on the podium 7 laps in.
Yeah, all 3 guys still running right where they qualified, so no big changes. Goes to show that their practice times and their qualifying times, no fluke. They know how to get around this road course and doing a pretty great job. It looked like the 3 is around the Home Depot. Old Tony Stewart livery had to work his way around, and looks like he wasn't the only one. That number 24 DuPont machine also had some trouble, so now the leaders got some company.
Aiden Norman 1.2 seconds ahead. Elrich George also going around on the front straight, goes right into traffic. Richie Catania sits just ahead of him. 2 cars colliding together. Caution is out. Pete, the Bahamian, drives right onto the racing line with the Orlando native straight ahead of him. No mistaking that. Big crash here, but certainly not the most innocent of circumstances. Let's go back and see Cody Riggs going off track earlier, and let's break this down incident by incident. This is on the back straight. Cody Riggs coming out just in front of that 41 Office Depot machine, and let's see where he lost it just one more time, but just not sure what happened to Riggs. This is back on the front straight for Cody, and that's Al Simkowski, who's just getting around him. This is Riggs coming off the hill, possibly a lap prior. Pete, I'm just not sure what happened. Let's back up the Cody Riggs. Here we go. We'll get to see Cody Riggs have his incident. This is on the 6th lap of competition. Just too much throttle going off the hill. And watch this. Riggs will drive back onto the racing surface, while the 41 of Noah Belleville is right coming down in his way. Now, Pete, obviously, it's not our call. It's to make conclusions about what happened.
Yeah.
This is Elrich George right after he got into Richie Catania. Let's have another look, though.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the 3 kind of clipped the grass, and the same thing with Elrich George. Kind of got the grass just a little bit on the left side, lost it under throttle, and yeah, 24. It caught the 24 completely by surprise. I don't know if that was a pull out in traffic kind of thing, or maybe he didn't have somebody looking over his left shoulder saying, "Hey man, stay right where you're at. Let everybody go on by." If you're not running any kind of a sim racing app or something like that, and you don't know where there's traffic, if you don't have anybody helping you on a road course, it's very easy to pull right out in front of somebody.
And there you see Elrich George and Richie Catania making contact. So 18 drivers started this race. Patrick Allen, as has been his MO this season, registers but does not start, so he will be scored 19th out of this race. Cousin Cody Pennell in the pits, possibly getting something repaired or maybe just taking some fresh tires after 10 laps. I'm not sure what went on. Richie Catania now making his way out of pit road in that 2-4 DuPont Chevrolet. Tom Sears is going to be our race leader, Pete. All of the top 6 stayed out, and it looks like everybody from 7th on down does indeed pit, but for a couple of drivers. Now, it'd be selfish of me to ask you, Pete, on how these cars are going to drive coming up, because we've never seen these Cup cars, these ARCA cars, at Lime Rock. But what do we expect out of these stock cars?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting on the restart because you know they're going to be loose. That Porsche pace car, he's leading them around. These might be the most safe laps for these guys for the very foreseeable future. Unless Tom Sears knows what he's got underneath them for not only the starts but the restarts, he's got to have a whole lot of trust in these cars. And because he didn't come down pit road, Rick, he doesn't have any kind of graphical information as far as what his tires are like. The only way he's going to know is from practice. I wasn't able to really get a hold of Tom Sears or a couple of these guys during pre-race to say, hey, what how many laps are you getting on a tank of fuel? What's the wear kind of like? How are you feeling on the long run? How are you feeling on the short run? We just know that the overall setup for these cars didn't quite match Lime Rock. And they are really doing the best that they can with what they've got. It's going to be a great, it's going to be a very interesting restart, and see what happens thereafter.
You saw the green flag was waved off for not this lap, but the lap coming up this time by Massachusetts. Tom Sears will be your race leader when we go back to green. 11 laps underway. We're going to take a quick 30-second break, and we'll be back with more racing from Lime Rock Park. Don't go anywhere. Thursday Night Thunder is 11 laps into its Lime Rock debut. This is TNT Season 5. Ready to go racing with Tom Sears sitting at the helm. Jason Alexander in second. Green flag is out. The Massachusetts pilot gets going. Cody Riggs with 2 wheels in the grass. Everybody scrambling down that front straight. The 75 of JK3. Jimmy Kerr the third follows that black number 3 into turn 1. Pete, so far so good.
Yeah, so far so good. You got a lot of single file. I'm guessing once they all saw that Earnhardt scheme off in the grass, and he was just kind of rocking it back and forth. Track is very narrow, Rick. So obviously he didn't mean to do that, but I'm sure that caught a lot of people by surprise.
Tom Sears leads Jason Alexander into the I miss these corners so much. I know the first one is Big Bend, and this is the West Bend chicane that they're going through. Let me get these. Here's the track facts will tell us, actually. That first corner there, Big Bend, and then the rest here. But it's not as long as you might think. These lap times are what, 53 to 54 seconds. So 70 laps here should be done with in no time. But of course, it depends on what driver does what at what time. You're looking at the 7.4 of Jeremy Brio. He's trying to get around Aiden Norman in the 6.2. That's the 78 Jack Daniels car of Toby Estes up into 5th, Pete. He's up 13 places from where he started, but did not pit. We're now seeing the effects of fresh tires.
Yeah, fresh tires from the back going to try to work their way forward. You just saw the 74 of Briel get on by the 78 of Estes, almost like he was standing still on the inside. Rick, these guys are all, as you said, running their very first ever race here at Lime Rock. So for only getting practice laps in, we don't really ever go here. So man, I'm actually kind of surprised. One caution in the first, working towards lap 15 out of 70 tonight. I think the freshest tires are going to be the key. But you gotta kind of hand it to them to take on this kind of a challenge.
It's not going to be the only challenge they'll be facing, not the only new track that TNT will be visiting. While this week they're at Lime Rock Park, in 2 weeks we're going to be going to the Twin Ring Motegi Oval for our 11th round. Our 12th round of competition. And then Charlotte, Michigan, Bristol, and Homestead. But it's going to be a challenging 3 weeks for these drivers. Lime Rock tonight, Daytona 7 days from now, and then the Twin Ring Motegi Oval in 2 weeks. Ryan Pannell has gone around in the number 12, and the native of Stamford, Connecticut, goes for a spill on the back straight. And let's see just what happened to the Valvoline Chevrolet. He gets right into the back of Tristan Catania, and the New Jersey pilot and the Connecticut pilot getting into it. Ryan Pannell just with a little bit of too much throttle over the hill, Pete. He's the second driver to get caught up with that tonight.
Hey, what I'm kind of liking the this Menard scheme for Ryan Pannell. Looking pretty good, although all banged up now on the front end. It's not a too busy kind of a scheme, but he's doing this Menard Chevrolet pretty proud.
A lot of these cars are going to be painted differently this week. Yesterday, Wednesday, as it were, obviously because this is Thursday Night Thunder. So yesterday being Wednesday, there was an update for the 3D model of these cars as Aiden Norman goes purple with a 52.86. And it changed the shape of a lot of these cars, and because these drivers run a lot of personalized paint schemes, maybe they run, their favorite throwbacks, those paint schemes now have to be redone. So Tom Sears, luckily, has done his 14 213 Simware Supra. Aiden Norman hasn't, so he's decided to put his chin on the hood of his car. Jeremy Brio has his 74 Pepsi Taco Bell homage to Jeff Gordon, whatever you would call that, going on. So it's going to be a lot of different colors this week. It's special for a lot of reasons, this race, Pete. New track, different paint schemes, unknowns, and everybody loves the variables.
Oh yeah, I'm watching this 74 Taco Bell machine, absolutely coming off each and every corner, and he is literally dog tracking it. I mean, the back end of that machine is all over the place. And if you like the racing here, obviously next week at Daytona, more than likely what's going to be under the lights, Rick. I'm guessing it'll probably be the second race there of the season. And they go into Twin Rings Motegi over in Japan. All these cars going to be boxed up, packed up, ready to roll. That is going to be a lot of fun. It's almost like a Rockingham / Darlington. That track is absolutely amazing. Very fast, and you're going to see a lot of great passing.
A lot of these cars are actually starting to get spread out now. Jeremy Brio in that number 74 is 1.6 seconds ahead of Noah Belleville in fourth, and he's almost 3 seconds behind Aiden Norman. 2.25 seconds is the gap between Aiden Norman and Tom Sears, and over the last 5 laps, Pete, you can see Aiden Norman has been quicker than Sears by at least 0.2. Look at that, 0.2, 0.7, 6, and then 0.4. It looks like the tires have finally started to wear on that number 14. Norman catching him up, 2.1 seconds is the gap, but of course, Pete, one driver pitted, Aiden Norman. Tom Sears in the 14 did not. So if there's a late race caution, which is possible, this is a tight track, anything's possible. Sears gambling on having to use that extra rubber at the very end.
Yeah, and it's not a bad call by the 14. Gets a point for leading a lap, and so far, it's very, very close to leading the most laps so far. But second, third, fourth, and sixth all came on down pit road on lap number 9. Grabbed 4 brand new Eagle Feel Goods, went ahead and filled it up, right along with Tristan Catania back there in P number 10. But first, it looks like 5th, 7th, 8th, and 9th all decided to stay out. So right now, Tom Sears is the only one that has benefited, and Rick, that just looks like it was just merely to track position on the restart.
Possibly a lesson for drivers if the race goes green, or maybe we do get a late race caution. Track position really affecting how the car can get away from traffic. With most road courses, Pete, it's very easy to say, oh, you know, it's not a problem. If you go off the track, you know, you have runoff area, which is true. You do have runoff area at Lime Rock, but not a lot, especially on the front straight. We saw Cody Riggs lose control of his race car. We saw how it affected him, but for quite a while as well. It's just not enough to say, oh, I can just scratch this one off and regain my bearings. You may just fall off the track one time and one time only.
Yeah, you were looking, I believe it was at the 78 earlier, and you were saying, he wasn't very good on road courses, but he was doing pretty well so far. One thing that is preached at just about every single road course, and that is consistency. Slow down if you have to. You'll make the turn. Keep the car on track, and you will do just fine. You may even be able to jump over somebody else that maybe pushed it a little too hard, and you'll be able to reap the benefits. As it looks like the 14 now able to get around that Menards machine, making up just a little bit of time. Tom Sears still leading, but now the lead is down to just a half a second.
You saw the 31 of Matthew Kent fall off the racetrack, giving us a clinic in how to overdrive the corner. And there they are coming up through these first three turns, Pete. It's the 62 of Aiden Norman, who's all over the back end of that number 14 Supra. Norman in the 6-2, bothering the two-time champion for a shot at first place. Jeremy Brio 5 seconds away from this mess. Here goes Sears and Norman up the hill.
Yeah, going up the hill, and just before they got up to the top, they were able to see they were starting to catch some people. So lap traffic is going to be a factor very soon. I believe I saw that number 24 for Richie Catania. I believe Toby Estes was right there as well after having just a little bit of an issue. So they're starting to put people a lap down. Looks like the top two really so far starting to put on a little bit of a clinic here, Rick.
Cody Riggs in the number 3 goes off the racetrack in the Monte Carlo, comes on the track right ahead of the 2-4 of Richie Catania. And these drivers might have a discussion or two about on-track etiquette. The 3 trying to hold off that 2-4, headed down the back straight. Riggs back on the racetrack, Pete. And how about that for a sight? That rainbow 2-4 chasing that black number 3 up into the chicane in the hill.
You can think of a few road courses from yesteryear where the image was exactly that. You had in the old 6 of Mark Martin, maybe the 10 of Ricky Rudd and a couple others. Man, you'd have yourself a little bit of a history lesson there.
Jeremy Brio getting around all of that mayhem back there. There's the 41 of Noah Belleville getting around Stamford, Connecticut's Ryan Pennell. Aiden Norman now to the inside of Tom Sears down the front straight, and just not enough grip on those General tires for the 1-4. Norman, new leader in car 6-2.
Yeah, 62. It looks almost like a creamsicle Dodge, if you will. A little bit orange, a little bit of white, mix them all together. That's what you get. But now Tom Sears, he can just ride. If he can keep up with the 62 of Aiden, when it does come time for green flag pit stops, he'll have to, well, actually, no. The 14 will have to come in before Aiden, because Aiden pit on lap number 9. The only way that doesn't work for him, Rick, is if they feel like they've got to come in for tires rather than fuel sooner than later.
The 6-2 of Norman roaring ahead of the 14. Jeremy Brio in that 3rd position. Noah Belleville sitting in 4th. Donald Ray 1 second away from Belleville, the Texan, normally in his Ricky Hendrick colors. Once again, he just had a lot of these drivers have to come up with new paint schemes and just download something on the fly. Apparently, he's a fan of Monster Energy, and that's energizing him towards the back end of Noah Belleville's Office Depot machine. The 41 Fusion getting wide through turn number 1, what they call Big Bend. Then the S's, turns 3 and 4, aptly called the right-hander. The no-name straight, which leads down into turn number 5, and then the back straight. Pete, it is so difficult to get a rhythm at any road course, but especially one that for some drivers, it's the first time they've ever seen it.
Absolutely. That's why tonight's practice before everybody went green was very, very important. You had to get a great feel for the track before it went live. And man, these guys have done a great job. And great jobs all the way around, Rick. You're 100% right. These cars and the paint schemes, a lot of people had to get very creative with those digital brushes in a very, very short amount of time. And it's not like the templates were made available last week or the week before because they knew the update was coming. These guys, stellar job.
Cody Riggs having to succumb to the injuries of his race car. One of those Bluegrass Bandits is now in the pits waiting for his car to be repaired. Second place, Tom Sears finds himself 1.5 seconds removed from the point. Aiden Norman leading the way. Richie Catania has had a crash. The Orlando native coughing up some smoke. 2-4 following right in the path of that 3. Let's have a look and see what happened to the Central Floridian. Pete, I'll bet you anything he just gave it too much power going up the hill. Have a listen. You heard it right there. Well, just one more look, turn it up, and Pete, you can hear when Catania just loses control with all the power going through the rear end of the car.
Absolutely tries to go ahead and brake. It looks like he was able to do it and not hit that inside wall. That's going to save the nose on the front end of that Chevrolet. But, yeah, a whole lot of power, especially coming up to the top of the hill, right around the peak, all that go and no grip because you know the car is going to get extremely light, coming up and over that hill.
It's the transfer of the weight, isn't it? When
Yep.
the car goes up the hill, all the power is pushing the rear wheels, but all the weight now just isn't on the rear wheels anymore like the car's used to, just going up the hill. It's definitely something you have to feel out. Tristan Catania is trying to feel out something in that number 48 Cobalt Chevrolet. The 8th place New Jersey driver is now the first car 1 lap down, so he's in the lucky dog position. Look at the 2 of Thomas Andrews, defending champion Thomas Andrews, normally running the MGD colors, this time just struggling to get around the New Jersey pilot. Coming into this race, it's not the season that you would think of for Thomas Andrews so far. However, there's still plenty of racing to go. Last season, Pete, he won the championship with just 1 victory. Still winless, the New Jersey pilot, the number 2 of Andrews, comes into this race 38 points off of the top 3, but this could be the big turnaround for him. He's having a great run this afternoon.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've seen here very lately some people winning championships just by pointing the rest of the series or the club, the league, or community to death. I mean, just having phenomenal finishes all season long. And at some point, if you stay consistent and other people are slipping up, you're going to be able to get on up there. You're going to be able to take the lead on points and keep on moving. Hey, maybe the 2 can do the same thing.
At the front of this race, Aiden Norman has a 3.5 second hold over Tom Sears. Donald Ray now being run by Jason Alexander. The South Carolinian rocking that Gamecocks Ford Taurus all over the back end of that number 5 Monster Energy Impala. They head into the hill, Pete. Ray with the advantage, Alexander chasing, and it looks like the Texan now starting to leave the South Carolinian in his dust.
Yeah, I'm starting to really notice a lot of people braking it in different areas, and some actually braking just a little bit more than others. So the braking zones really aren't showing to be too much of a favor for anyone just yet. Having the track map up for me, I'm not quite sure. I don't see it up on the stream, but there are literally people or drivers just about in every single corner of this 1.5 mile road course right here in Connecticut.
Chicago's Alex Simkowski goes off the racetrack. Richie Catania does likewise. The 2-4 gets on the left pedal just before Briley Wright comes onto the racetrack. Richie avoiding an accident. Aiden Norman, the race leader, now gets around Cody Riggs, who's back on the racing surface. The Kentucky pilot now has Stamford, Massachusetts, Tom Sears in the number 14. Arcs Supra sitting in that second position. 3.7 seconds the gap now. And Aiden Norman, the winner earlier this year at Sonoma. This young man has been on an incredible run, Pete. 3 wins this season, only 17 points off of points leader Tom Sears.
You know, I got to give it to Tom Sears, though. Only 3.2 seconds behind Aiden Norman. But you know what? He's out there on the older tires, and everybody else on back is 18 plus, 23 plus, 36 plus. You know, then there's guys, you know, 1 or more laps down. Right now, from 8th on back is 1 lap down or more. Right now, Briley Wright in that number 18, sitting P7. He is the last guy on the lead lap, 53 seconds back. So you got to kind of give it to Tom. He's out there on the oldest tires, still sitting P2. If he had, you know, the same cycle of tires as Aiden Norman, or the same level of grip in his tires as Aiden Norman, this might be one hell of a battle for the lead. But Rick, it ain't over yet. We're only working lap 31.
Local has joined the giveaway. He says, go Norman. He's cheering for Aiden in that number 6-2. And if you didn't know, we're giving away a Ryan Blaney 164 diecast tonight. Enter exclamation point TNT giveaway 10 for your chance to win. You can check it out on the Thursday Night Thunder and the Rick James Twitter and Instagram if you're an Instagram person. That number 12, Ryan Blaney, Advanced Auto Parts diecast, we're giving away. Exclamation point TNT giveaway 10 for your chance to win. DC Hauk says if Norman was smart, he'd pit when Tom Sears pits. We'll see just how the strategy plays out just before the halfway mark, Pete. Drivers really spread out all over the place, and now that we have a long green flag run, Pete, it seems like it's just a fight for your own survival. You can't depend on what other people do because there's no drivers to chase.
Exactly. This is turning into really just race the racetrack. Don't worry about your competition. If they mess up, you're going to catch them. If you're consistent, you're going to catch them. If you take care of your equipment, you're going to catch them. This is turning into a fight for survival. You know, worry about your own line, your own brake points, your own throttle points. You know, take it a little easy coming up and over the hill. Stay out of the grass. We know how slick that can be. The runoff points even can be a little treacherous at times as well. But, man, it even seems like our leader, the 62 of Aiden Norman, he's not having just any kind of a cakewalk, but he's just the one so far that's really minimized his mistakes. He's able to keep it up front. Tom Sears able to stay in P2 after not pitting during that caution. But yeah, just minimizing any errors and keeping for the most part, keeping the car on the track.
Matthew Kent in that number 31 City Chevrolet, almost going off in the last corner. You can see he's taking it very gingerly around the racetrack, and for good measure. But despite him falling off the racetrack, Pete, he hasn't been involved in major incidents. He sits in 10th with a big fishtail coming up the hill. I think Kent is going to be the driver that shows us most how important it is to go slow rather than fall off the racetrack. Cat Pennell says he had somebody start and park for him tonight. That's Cody Pennell, who registered for the race. He'll pick up some points. He said, gave quiet my login info. I think he's just screwing around there, which is funny enough. But Cody Pennell not able to start this race either, so he's also out. He's going to join Toby Estes, who's out of this race. Elrich George, the Bahamian, also out. And Al Simkowski, he's sitting in 15th. Cody Pennell finds himself still in the pits. DC Hauk says he's watching football and Thursday Night Thunder. How about that? for dedication. And speaking of football, Pete, college is back, man.
Yeah, college is back. The NFL's playing their first official game tonight. I think it's what is it? It's the Bills and the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, how about that? Season's back around. Pigskin's in play. These tires are hot all over this road course. What a time to go, I tell you.
Tristan Catania having to get on the brakes hard. The number 2-4 of Richie Catania trying to get around Tom Andrews, excuse me. Tristan falls off the racetrack with the 2 behind him, Pete. We could have a little bit of a mini hornet's nest going up the hill.
Yeah, 24, the 2, and the 48, all kind of nose to tail. If push comes to shove, they might want to really be easy. Again, we talked about these cars getting really light. You see the 24 get a little loose. There goes the 46 back there. He almost went into the right side wall, but able to save it for what I saw for the most part. Good hands.
Matthew Kenton, the 3-1, goes off the racetrack. He gets slammed into by Donald Ray down the back straight. Caution is out at Lime Rock Park. You just saw the 34 of Kent go off the racetrack, and nowhere for the 5 of Donald Ray to go. Just have a look at this. Tristan Catania getting around Tom Sears. And this is where the whole Tristan Catania 24 2-car incident started. And great moves here by Richie to avoid all of this. You're looking at 2 siblings sandwiching the defending champion in that black and red number 2. Becca Norman following. Welcome, Becca, to Rick James TV and Thursday Night Thunder. So, Pete, watch this and tell me what happens here between these 3.
Yeah, 31 just loose coming up over the hill. Rick, just lost all kinds of grip. Like you said earlier, all the weight in the front, nothing in the rear. Back end came out from behind him, able to keep it off the inside wall. But now this car is very, very broken. That monster machine coming up and over had no clue what he was in store for. And I talked about that earlier, a very, very blind other side of the hill.
That's Donald Ray in the number 5, the pride of Rockwall, Texas, with 1 win last season, just crashing into Matthew Kent. Let's ride along with Ray and watch this unfold. Oh, this is Ray already with damage here. Let's see if we can watch this one more time. Just literally nowhere to go. Just unfortunately nowhere to go. Donald Ray, unfortunately, just caught up in the crossfire. Richie Catania now up into 14th despite being 4 laps off the pace. Pete, survival could net him that top 15. Aiden Norman is in. Tom Sears is in. Jeremy Brio, Noah Belleville coming in. It's important to note, I think Tom Sears coming down for his first pit stop, Pete. Drivers getting 3 sets of tires in this race, and it could be crucial. Norman on his second set, Norman, I believe, with his second tire change. Sears with his first. If another late race caution comes out, again, it's kind of a gamble for what's going to happen at the end of this race. We're quickly approaching just 30 laps to go. Aiden Norman is our race leader in the 6'2", 2-time champion. Tom Sears in second, Pete. Between these 2, they're on even footing now. Who do you got?
I tell you what, this is going to be the best fight we've seen yet, Rick. Tom Sears, he was on the older tires, 9-lap older tires to be exact, from that very, very first early caution. Now he's on an even footing, as you just said, with Aiden Norman. But I'm kind of curious, Rick, was Tom hoping that was going to go green and he was going to be able to maintain his position, come on down early, grab his 4 Eagle Feel Goods, come on out, make up a whole bunch of time on Aiden Norman, and then see if maybe he got a caution then. Somebody locking him up coming down pit road, blocking the track. The admins had to throw the caution, or however it may have played out, or maybe just a wreck like what we just saw. But I'm very, very curious if Tom Sears finishes in the podium a little bit later, how or what he's thinking of this second caution.
It'll be 31 laps to go next time by. Cody Pennell cheering 30 bits. Appreciate you, Cody. Fans at home, don't go anywhere. We're going to be back for the green flag. We're going to take a 30-second break and back for the final 31 laps of racing. You're watching the inaugural Thursday Night Thunder race at Lime Rock Park. See you in 30. "31 laps to go" will be the remaining distance. And of course, the green-white checkers are always in play. Aiden Norman, Tom Sears will be starting first and second on the outside line. 90s cars, 90s rules, Gen 4 if you will. Green flag will come out. Aiden Norman will lead the single file parade of lead lap cars on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Let's go racing once again from Lime Rock Park. Or not. Looks
like they called it off.
Yeah, they're definitely waving off that caution. All that hype for literally nothing.
Yeah, looks like the the pace car kind of tricked us. Every now and then you'll see the pace car go down and the actual field doesn't follow. But yeah, pace car even pulled off. So I'm guessing he was a little confused by the tower. So now the entire field will have to slow up and whoa up, let that Porsche come on by, and they'll rack and stack back up. Rick, I gotta be very, very curious about the nerves of these guys, knowing that they were just about to hammer that throttle pedal, and now they gotta be cool in their seats for at least one more lap.
Well, why don't we ask him? Let's talk to the race leader, Aiden Norman, in that number 62. Aiden, it's Pete and Rick in the booth. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. How y'all doing?
You're leading this race right now, and I think you've got one of the more interesting cars on racetrack, but it's got to be said, it's at the front. You're leading this race. You've kind of taken TNT by surprise, and a lot of people are just really wondering what's going on in that 6-2 camp. How are you so successful? Give us a quick answer. We're going back to green, it looks like.
Just lots of practice and dedication. I want to run good in this league because I'm a really big fan of it, and I enjoy racing with these guys.
What's it going to take to win this race tonight, Aiden?
Luck.
Well, best of luck to you, buddy. Keep the shiny side up. Hopefully we talk to you at the end.
Thank you, Rick.
Norman going back to work in that 6-2. The North Carolinian will have control of the field. Green flag now in the starter's hand, waiting for the command and for these drivers to put the foot down. And they do with fury. Norman to a racing start down the Samposi straight. Jimmy Kerr the third getting knocked into that wall. We stay green. Norman, Sears, and company now flying through the S's, Pete.
Yeah, Sears seeing his first bit of competition since the 62 got up to his back bumper and saw him just drive away. But yeah, Jeremy Briol and Noah Belville right up his trumpet, as you would say, Rick. And it looks like even more falling back. So far, still staying green. We saw the 75 go off track. I think I just saw the 24. 74 is losing it up and over the hill into the tire barrier. Also off track, still the green flag.
Still running green. Here comes Jeremy Briol. He wisely puts the brakes on and stops his car from moving right as Al Simkowski comes ahead of him. Jimmy Kerr the third now has to avoid all of that. Kerr, who got turned around on the restart, now moves into the 12th position. Let's have a quick look at Kerr, see if there was any help to him. It looks like Tristan Catania does lift the rear end of the 75, puts him into the wall. Al Simkowski crashes a short while later. He gets into the 41 of Noah Belville coming out of the S's and down the no-name straight. And Aiden Norman continues to lead this race by an impressive 1.3 seconds over two-time champion. Look at Donald Ray in that third position, Pete. Jason Alexander in fourth, and Briley Wright rounds out the top five.
Yeah, how about that, though? I mean, talking talking about Belleville in that number 41. He was the lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap, sitting P number 7. Now the lucky dog is going to be Andrews in that deuce. But yes, 5 trying to do everything that he can to try to get back up there. He's got a gap back to the 2, and he's got a gap up to the 14. He's got enough room to really just hit his own, his own marks. As Aiden Norman just now went purple, running the fastest lap here on lap 43 of 52:48. I believe that's the first sub 53 second lap we've seen tonight.
The only driver to put in a lap under 53 seconds, Pete. You're exactly correct. Jason Alexander in that 4th position. He's trying to get up behind Cody Riggs in that number 3. Riggs running in 13th, and here's a driver, again, teaching us a lesson in perseverance as he goes wide up the hill and headed into the West Bend. Riggs catches the grass. The 56 of Jason Alexander turns the number 3. We stay green as the 56 goes through the downhill, and that final wide right-hander, Norman leads by 2 seconds. Brio now coming up behind the other Bluegrass Bandit that's still left in this race, Briley Wright. Pete, this is the race for 5th.
Yeah, Briley Wright up there, P5 up 2 spots as he just fell victim to Jeremy Brio. But Rick, a lot of people are going to go back and they're going to rewatch this, as a lot of people do, just to learn from it. And they're going to see all the mistakes that people made coming up and over a couple of these hills. And like, man, why didn't I just take it just a little bit easier? But Rick, at the same time, you have to push. You've got to try something in order to make up time on your competition. I'm just not quite sure that that's the spot you need to do it in.
Cody Riggs going off track in quick succession, and there you see, there's the incident where he just clipped the grass once again, and it is the finest of margins, and I think that's kind of what gets these drivers the most, is that it is literally the smallest of fractions between asphalt and grass, with just all that horsepower churning through these rear tires. It's just so hard to keep it pointed in the right direction. Cody Riggs still in 13th, defending champion Thomas Andrews in 8th. Aiden Norman leading by 2.4 seconds, coming to 25 laps to go, Pete. And it's looking once again like the 62's race.
Yeah, Aiden Norman, very, very great on road courses. Tom Sears sitting right there in P2. Donald Ray still P3, already 14 plus seconds back behind the leader. I was curious what Tom Sears was going to be able to do if he was on the same level of tire, or the same grip in his tire. So far, it looks like Aiden Norman, he's saying, hey man, I got it, no matter what. But Rick, we've seen some people make some pretty interesting mistakes. Well, but if he can continue to stay as consistent as he's been, able to wheel this thing all the way around, they said earlier in practice that it was going to be a driver's track, and they're proving that to be right.
Jason Alexander now wrestling with the 74 of Jeremy Brio as these drivers battle it out for that 5th position. Brio now in 4th, Alexander's in 5th, Thomas Andrews in the 8th position, watching these two duke it out. Everybody in their own private little battles now, trying to just get what they can in these final 25 circuits. Brio now 0.8 of a second ahead of Jason Alexander. Local in the chat saying Norman is the man, let's go. Infantry boys, built different. I think they're repping the old infantry racing league. Tristan Catania with incident. The 48 slams into the guardrail just up the hill. It looks like nobody's coming his way, Pete. And again, just the hill section. No surprises if Catania just puts too much power through the rear end and loses it. And there it is, not even up the hill, Pete. The car just snaps loose on him under braking. Not the first time that's happened for the 48. Watch him wheel hop.
Gonna guess a little bit of brake, a little bit of wheel hop, shifting in the wrong place, and that is exactly what happens. Shifting down before the car is going slow enough, and the rear wheels start bouncing like basketballs, from what they used to say, and no way to control it. I'm watching so many people come up and over that hill, not even touching the grass. By, as you said, by the slightest bit, and still really having to hold on to these things. They're having to wheel them, Rick.
Matthew Kent getting around Al Simkowski in the number 99. Or the other way around, I'm sorry. Al Simkowski getting around Matthew Kent. Both of those cars in identical City Chevrolet paint schemes. Matt Kent getting way too squirrely off of the no-name straight corner. Now into the downhill section with Tristan Catania coming up behind him. But these drivers not racing for position. Cody Riggs well off the racing surface and now mowing the lawn in Connecticut. Really gets on the brakes to avoid the 56 of Jason Alexander. And Thomas Andrews now nails the back end of Cody Riggs. We stay green so far. Andrews crashing, Riggs crashing. And with 21 laps to go this time by, looks like we're going to keep it green and mostly clean for these drivers. The gap at the front, Pete, now 4 seconds.
Yeah, that Deuce know where to go. Definitely shoved the bottle cap of that MGD machine. And he was looking at parts in the back end of that GM Goodwrench number 3. Literally lifted up the rear end. Very unfortunate for the 2. Hopefully he's still up completely on power. We've seen a lot of cars take damage to the front end, and they're losing RPM, and if you don't keep these things cool, Rick, we've all seen them blow before.
Matt Kent now in 11th. He falls off the racetrack once again. 20 laps to go this time by. If you've recently tuned in, you're listening to Pete Maruzic and Rick James in the booth for your 10th round of Thursday Night Thunder, and if you haven't yet entered the raffle, exclamation point, TNT Giveaway 10. For your chance to win a Ryan Blaney diecast, put in TNT Giveaway 10 into Twitch chat for your chance to win that number 12 Ryan Blaney diecast. Ryan Pennell having an incident. There goes Cody Riggs losing control of the race car, but he keeps it running in the right direction. Pennell behind him with Al Simkowski now a part of this mess. Pete, they're not racing for position, but it's still a precarious position for everybody involved.
Boy, that 3 is absolutely squirrely. It seems like everywhere. 3 wide, coming down that straightaway across the start stripe. Rick, we got a pack of 5 here. This is the Hornet's Nest.
There's Al Simkowski leading the way. The 41 of Noah Belleville goes off the racetrack. Cody Riggs follows him too. Just so hard to keep these cars pointed in the right direction. Mount Kilimanjaro has entered the giveaway as well. Noah Belleville makes it through all right. He's in the 14th position. The 12 of Ryan Pennell sits just ahead of race leader Aiden Norman, the 6-2, all over the back end of the Stamford, Connecticut native. Just like DC Hauk says, right in front of the leader, Pete, and the leader having a little bit of trouble getting around some lapped cars.
Yeah, going to go ahead and put that 41 back on the back up 1 lap down. So he's been able to put everybody that was lapped down earlier right back to where they were. Looks like it's going to be the 18 of Riley Wright right now, sitting P6. The last car in the lead lap, 49 seconds behind the leader. Tom Sears sitting P2, 4.4 behind. And what a stretch of cars, all mixed between lap and lap down cars. We've got two cars talking about Belleville and Andrews, 1 lap down. Catania 2, Pennell Kent and Kerr 3 laps down. Riggs 5, and the other Catania 10 laps down. Zimkowski, the last car, still running.
Jimmy Kerr the third with a 56.8 second lap. He's gone green, his personal best of the evening, and he celebrates by throwing the car into the grass in turn number 1. Aiden Norman leads by 4 seconds, coming to 18 laps to go as Kerr re-enters the racing surface. Noah Belleville now watching the leader peel away. Briley Wright, as you just mentioned, Pete, the last car on that lead lap. Richie Catania goes off the racetrack right ahead of Briley Wright, puts the brakes on, gets on the gas as the leader's coming his way. He has to back up right out of the way of Noah Belleville. Everybody takes a deep breath and holds it, and Richie rejoins the racetrack mostly unharmed.
Yeah, great job by Richie to keep an eye out his windshield. He sees the traffic coming. Didn't have to rely on a spotter that time, based on where he was. So hey, great way to race with integrity right there.
74 of Jeremy Brio almost making contact with Tristan Catania. Have a look at the New Jersey pilot going way too wide on Big Bend. and then the 74 having to give it a little bit of a swish into back onto the racing surface, and it's almost comical watching these guys sort of drift their way around these corners. I bet some of these guys are having a blast in these cars. Other guys just hate what's happening right now. Pete, would you be one of those guys that you're having fun with it, or would you be cursing at the rear axle?
I think I'd probably be right in the middle. Every time I got a little loose, little swishy, as you just said, I'd probably be cursing up a storm. But man, when I'm on these straightaways, not to worry about the brakes, when it's all throttle, which is what I like, I'd be happy as a clam. But man, these guys doing a great job again, Rick. We talked about this being the very first time they've ever seen this track. I ran here, I think it was in the Formula V's not too long ago. It's a whole lot of fun in a car that can only get up to 100 miles an hour. These things a whole lot more power. You really have to get around here with a lot of finesse. Man, great job by right now, Aiden Norman. He is like the Skip Barber of racing schools and showing everybody how to get around this place.
Norman looking for his 4th victory this season, leading the way by 5.8 seconds and about to put Thomas Andrews a 2nd lap down. Jason Alexander, the South Carolinian, now the last car on the lead lap. The native of Salem, South Carolina, bringing that Gamecocks Ford Taurus across the line. And hopefully we get some of these college paint schemes done quickly and efficiently to see some more back on the racing surface. Who's your college team, by the way, Pete?
I was never really big into college ball. I mean, I followed Penn State for a while, Michigan State Wolverines, the Ohio State Buckeyes, a couple of rivals there, obviously, but never really sunk my teeth into college ball much. How about you?
I like Miami, first and foremost. Not Ohio, Florida. I like the University of Miami. Aside from that, I'll root for Michigan, if they're playing, but as far as college ball goes, I like Miami definitely.
There you go.
Yeah, great win over Bethune-Cookman over the weekend, but we'll see what the Hurricanes can do this season. As far as the Pro Ball is concerned, as far as my Dolphins, man, I'll be happy with I'll be happy with a winning season.
Maybe if they bring Marino out of retirement. What do you think?
That's a can of worms, man. This is not the place for that. Holy crap. Norman's leading by 6.6 seconds. David Houck is a fan of Tyreek Hill and the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I can't say much. My New York Giants, they haven't done very well ever since they lost Brandon Jacobs, and we can recall about how many years ago that was. But hey, it is what it is. 24 looks like he got a little loose going through the S's. He nosed first into the guardrail. Looks like he went ahead and towed it. Catania back to 14th and in the pits.
And the Central Floridian crossing the racetrack right ahead of his younger brother Tristan, and as you said, Pete, he decides to immediately jump to the pits and get out of everybody's way. DC Houck, a big fan of those Titans. Donald Ray, 22 seconds off of the top two, while Tom Sears has to hope for a yellow if he wants any chance of Aiden Norman to get back in sight. Lucky number 13, laps to go from iRacing's Lime Rock Park. Jeremy Brio, 1.8 seconds behind Donald Ray, and over the last 5 laps, Pete, you can see Ray has just not been quick enough to hold off Brio, and the 74 has the 5 in his distance. Pete, now it's just about not making a mistake.
So you watch that 74 come down the hill and just that front end just land. I mean, you saw that suspension collapse on the front end of this Pepsi Taco Bell machine coming across the start stripe going into turn number 1. 74 a little wide, had to get on the brakes in order to be able to make the turn. Rick James, you got to wonder, is Aiden Norman going to be able to catch P5 and possibly P4, putting just those in the top 3 and end up in on the podium, left on the lead lap? I think he's got a pretty good shot at doing just that.
We'll see just how far Aiden Norman decides to push it. Tristan Catania fell off the racetrack, and he's decided to come back on as well. Brio not making too much progress on the Texan of Donald Ray, but again, it's going to come down to who's managed tires the best. Tristan Catania in that 48, sitting in the 9th position. Thomas Andrews, almost a full lap. Actually, he's a full lap ahead of him. Donald Ray has decided to come down pit lane. Has he? No, we got the alert, but it looks like he just got loose out of that final corner. And he does indeed. Pete gets on the brakes really hard, but how about that for saving the race car, huh? The Texan, he gets the job done, and he's only down into 4th. Jeremy Brio, 1.5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, Donald Ray did an amazing job locking that thing down. Came across the track. I'm sure Jeremy Brio saw a whole lot that he did not want, because when these things are sliding across, you don't know if they're going to loop around or if the guy's going to be able to hold that wheel straight and just keep it locked down. You don't move until you know the coast is clear. Great job by the 5.
Thomas Andrews as well, saving that car from flying off the racetrack. The defending champions in the 8th position. It'll be 10 laps to go next time by. Jason Alexander falls off the track, and a little bit of a slip for that white number 56. Alexander 10 seconds ahead of Noah Belleville in the 6th position. That second place Tom Sears, who's just ahead of Belleville. Jason Alexander, there he is, really still running it wide, Pete, and these drivers, they're having fun with it now, man. You can see these guys are really just trying to test the limits of the race car. You got what you got at this point.
Yeah, you really do. And it's kind of interesting with 10 to go. You got to figure that these fuel cells are getting lighter and lighter, Rick. So the balance of these cars is getting even more wonky as they come over that hill. I'm starting to see people that were doing just fine coming up and over there, starting to get a little tail happy, even keeping it out of the grass. So I'm not quite sure if they've got to pit one more time or not. Unfortunately, the way that the cautions have flown tonight, we haven't had a round of green flag pit stops. Still 10 to go. Next time by is going to be 9. Rick, it's all single digits from here. I don't know if I asked you earlier, who do you got to take it all if Aiden Norman slips up?
If Norman slips up, you've got to give it to Tom Sears, but of course, if it's a late race caution, there's going to be so many drivers that are bunched up, so many drivers with a genuine chance to go for the win. Donald Ray running kind of risky tonight, letting the tail swish all over the place, but he's up to 4th. He's doing just fine, 3.5 seconds behind Jeremy Brio. Tom Sears within 10 seconds to the race leader. Noah Belleville also fighting for 6th. There's just so many options. Man, if it's not Aiden Norman, I gotta go with Sears, but really, you know who knows? Just genuinely, who knows? There's 8 laps to go next time around, and at 1.5 miles at a time, literally anything's possible. We talked about it earlier. It's what I love about a new racetrack. There's so many variables. There's no predictability about how it's going to go. We get that again in 2 weeks' time at the Twin Ring Motegi.
Yeah, the Twin Rings. That's a very, very fun race. I actually got a chance to call that with a separate community a while back, and it's a lot of fun. That was in the Cup cars. These things are going to be just as loose. Man, that is definitely a race that I will have to catch. You're gonna, man, wait. If you haven't called a race from there yet, wait till you see it.
Well, funny that you mentioned, we're going to do Thursday Night Thunder there at the Oval in 2 weeks, and then today on Rick James TV Twitter, we announced Mazda Monday, the return of, well, what was Mazda Monday, but what is now the ARCS MX-5 Cup, and it's going to start at the Twin Ring Motegi Oval. Shameless plug for that trailer. You can catch it on Rick James TV Twitter, but the ARCS MX-5 Cup is coming back starting November 7th from the Twin Ring Motegi Oval. I don't know if you've called an MX-5 race before, but that's going to be, it's going to be so much fun. Just these fast, zippy little 4-cylinder engines just at what doesn't seem like incredible speeds because we're used to these stock cars going 150, 160, but they're so much fun, and everybody, including someone of my skill level, which is nothing, can actually have a good time with these cars.
Have not. I mean, I've turned a lap or two in the MX-5 just to kind of get an idea on a road course here or there, but nothing competitively. So I might have to take that bad little boy out on a little bit of a test run, see what it's got. Looking forward to it, though.
The battle for fifth right now starring Noah Belleville in the 41, Jason Alexander in the 56, coming to 6 laps to go, separated by a couple tenths of a second down the hill and down the front straight. Belleville with a great exit, Pete. They're drag racing for fifth into one.
Yeah, fifth into one. Belleville, Alexander, Ray a little bit further behind, but that was a hell of a battle. Into the braking zone. 41's going to be able to pull it low, keep the wheels under him all the way through. That 51 or 56 rather, just kind of stalking him all the way through. If that 51 slips, maybe catches just a little bit of grass, that 56 is going to pounce.
Now coming down the back straight and moving up the hill, you're going to see Jason Alexander popping up just behind the 4-1 of Noah Belleville. There they are, still racing hard for that fifth position. Alexander in the 5-6, Belleville in the 41. Jeremy Brio also racing for position. He's coming up behind Donald Ray.
Yeah, Brio right now in that 74 sitting P3. Right now the last person that has a shot at the podium. Donald Ray in that 5, only 3 seconds behind, just about 3 seconds flat. But right now it looks like it's going to be the all Norman and Sears show. This last spot for the podium could be an interesting challenge if Brio just makes just a little bit of a mistake. He'll be right there.
The 74 leading the 5 by 7 tenths of a second down the front straight. 4 laps to go next time by for both of these pilots. Texan Donald Ray still winless this season. The 74 of Jeremy Brio with 1 W to his name. Brio sits 6th in the point standings. Donald Ray 14th in the points standings. And still a lot of racing to go. And next week, if it wasn't surprising and fun enough to do Lime Rock, then the Twin Ring Motegi, Daytona in between both of those.
And I tell you what, Daytona is a lot of fun in these cars. That high line gets to be a blast. One big thing about these cars at the super speedways, trucks, Xfinity, and Cup cars, you can get up and you can push. We saw what happened earlier between the 3 and the 2. If you get too big of a shot to the rear end, you will lift the car in front of you up off the ground. You cannot push with these cars very easily. You got to get right to that bubble and shove them with the air. Don't want to shove them too much with the front end because you will cause an issue as the 74 and company go on by. Looks like the 48 is off the track. 56 not able to make up any time on the 74 just yet.
Tristan Catania going for yet another off-track excursion in the Cobalt machine, but he still holds his 9 position. Doing all right so far, and again, I think the goal for a lot of these drivers was just to survive at the end of it. Thargrove enters the giveaway, and again, if you haven't found out, fans, enter !TNT giveaway 10 for your chance to win. That Ryan Blaney diecast will be announcing the winner at the end of this race. Aiden Norman now with just over 3 miles to go, but Jeremy Brio and Donald Ray fighting hard for that last podium position.
Yeah, going into one, a big braking zone again. You saw the 74 hard on the brakes, saw the front end slam to the ground, saw the flames out the side. So just downshifting and downshifting. I would imagine all the way down to second gear. That monster machine getting bigger and bigger in the windshield, in the rear view of this Taco Bell 74 machine.
The Jeff Gordon-esque Pepsi, if you will. Ahead of Donald Ray by 8 tenths of a second, and it just looks like into that hill, Pete. Ray so much more controlled under braking. These guys are going to have just a couple more chances to make it happen. Brio's going to have to be on his game, and I think Donald Ray's going to have to be a bit more aggressive into the corners.
Yeah, Donald Ray actually came up and over the hill, almost lost it, but able to secure it as he's cutting the grass just a little. Good hands by him, way to keep on it. Looks like 74 Taco Bell Pepsi Jeff Gordon throwback going to get underneath that MGD machine. And Donald Ray's falling back just a little bit after having to save it coming up over the hill. Rick James, it is the final lap, sir. Your call. It's all Aiden Norman.
Less than 1.5 miles remain for the eccentric and whimsical Norman, as you can tell by the livery on this infantry machine. The number 6-2 Judge Intrepid right behind Tristan Catania and Matthew Kent as they wrestle around. Not for position. The 62 of Norman taking almost a victory lap, as it were. 15 seconds the gap, and Norman en route to his 4th victory of the season, and people are starting to take notice and heads are starting to be scratched. But for now, it's going to be an unprecedented 4th win for the rookie. The first race for Thursday Night Thunder at Lime Rock Park goes to North Carolina's Aiden Norman. He wins round number 10.
Big congratulations to that to that machine, able to go on out. And Rick, we use the word clinic very often whenever we see a great race by somebody. But yeah, that 62, he's going to come all the way around. I imagine right now a few people are out there giving some congratulatory messages, but he'll be coming back to the line, and he's going to burn it down, and rightfully so. Very well earned, as he tries to get tries to drift around this track a couple spots.
Donald Ray coming home in that 4th position. Noah Belleville finishing in 5th. Tristan Catania finishing in the 9th position, and Ryan Pennell, the hometown flavor, rounding out that top 10. Aiden Norman getting sideways with it and starting his celebration out of the final corner. And a good run for the North Carolinian, his 4th victory this season, and it's starting to become apparent he knows something the rest of the field doesn't, and a championship could be on the cards for Norman. Fans, don't go anywhere. We're going to have Aiden Norman, Tom Sears, and Jeremy Brio on the podium, and we're also going to announce the winner of our Ryan Blaney Diecast giveaway. That in just a moment. Your winner tonight at Lime Rock, Aiden Norman. On the podium now with our top 3 after TNT's successful race at Lime Rock Park. Number 74, Jeremy Brio. Jeremy, congratulations on that bronze medal, man. It seemed such a hard race out there, but at least some of the guys looked like they were having fun with it.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, especially on new tires. After that restart, that's where I spun up the hill. But after that, it was a lot of fun. The car was grippy enough to where you could throw it into the corner, but there was a lot more horsepower under the hood, enough to where you're sliding around the corners if you hit the gas too hard. So that was a lot of fun, but those two up front were too hard to catch. So I guess I better practice next time.
Next week at Daytona, is there anything you can take there that might give you an advantage for your 2nd win of the season?
Go balls to the wall and don't give anything, I guess. just go for it.
Congratulations on your 3rd place. We'll talk to you in a week.
All righty. Thank you, Rick.
Pete, you've got our silver medalist tonight.
Absolutely, Tom Sears. I'm kind of glad that Jeremy just mentioned something about the tires on the longer run, because it was a perfect segue. I was going to ask you about staying out at lap number 9, and were you hoping that actually went green to have something for Aiden on new tires, as since he was going to be able to go a few laps longer? Talk to us about that gap and what you wanted to see out of this race to maybe grab or have a chance at the W.
Yeah, first off, I just want to say, Pete, thanks for joining Rick tonight up in the booth. It's great to have the tag team of both you guys up here calling our race. As for the caution and pits and tires and all that, I was really hoping this whole race would stay green because I think I mean I don't know because Aiden was so fast, but I like to believe it might have helped me. I don't know because we never got to see it. But in that second caution, I absolutely made a mistake and forgot to change my tires from just lefts to all four. So I ran the whole race on the same set of right tires, unfortunately. But we didn't crash, we didn't die, we still came in second. So it could have been a lot worse, but yeah, I accidentally only changed left sides the whole race once. So, but hats off to Aiden. He was flying out there tonight. Good job for him. He got some self promo with his face on there too.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely hats off to Aiden, but hats off to you saying that, Tom, you only took lefts for all 70 laps here at Lime Rock. Great race by you. Going to Daytona next week, you're really going to have to watch where you put the nose of these machines all the way around that 2.5 mile super speedway. Good luck there. If I'm not capable of being with the one and only Rick James, go get him, sir.
Thank you.
You got it. Rick James, the 62 of Mr. Norman.
There we go. Mount Kilimanjaro winning that diecast. Phil, if you're there, you know what to do. Hit us up on Twitter at RickJamesTV, and we'll send out that Ryan Blaney diecast to you. Mount Kilimanjaro is now ineligible to win the diecast giveaway next week at Daytona. Our race winner, the number 6-2 of Aiden Norman, with his 4th victory this season. Aiden, you've now clawed the difference to within 10 points to two-time champion Tom Sears. Headed into Daytona, everybody wants to know what has been your secret, what makes you so good this season.
I'd like to think there is no secret. It's really just having the time to get on and practice. Some of these guys don't have the time. They come and run mainly for fun, just hang out with some friends, and that's why you don't see some of them quite reach their full potential. But everyone in here is always quick, and obviously people like Tom, it's crazy to think I'm only 10 points behind him this far into the season. I mean, he ran this whole race on the same set of right sides, so that's ridiculous.
It seemed to be a pretty difficult race for most drivers, but you had more control over your car than most other drivers out there. Is this attributed to practice, and what can you take into next week going for your 5th win this season?
Yeah, I'd say it's attributed to practice. I've always enjoyed road course racing, so there's a little bit of just habit in there. Like when I get on track, I kind of know what to expect. I just have to figure out the track itself. But taking it into next week, it's going to be a completely different story. It's Daytona. It's going to be a lot more luck involved, and hopefully I can get in a good spot in line and just sort of chill out for the entire race and try and finish with a top 5. I don't know if going for the win is going to be realistic, but I've got nothing to lose. So
anything's possible in your rookie season. Once again, congratulations on win number 4, and we'll see you in a week.
thank you, Rick. Thank you, Pete.
Fans at home, that puts an end to chapter number 10. Mount Kilimanjaro asking how the points are looking. Phil, Tom Sears leads by 10 points. This is all unofficial. 10 points is the lead Tom Sears has over Aiden Norman. Cousin Cody Pennell finds himself 15 points off of Aiden Norman, and defending champion Thomas Andrews has, I believe, a 37-point gap to 3rd place, if my math is right, which it probably isn't. But we'll look more into that as the week goes on. Pete, thank you so much for coming in on such short notice, too, man. It's always good to work with you, and it's great when it just literally falls together.
Yeah, Rick James. When I saw where these guys were coming earlier this morning, and I sent you a message saying, "Hey, man, what do you think about getting back in the booth?" It's been a few weeks since we did it over on the Roku channel around Las Vegas Motor Speedway in that truck race. Glad to be back, and Rick, we're gonna be together for a few more here down the road.
Certainly a lot of fun plans coming in the future. And as the days go on, fans, definitely keep in touch with me. Keep in touch with Pete, twitch.tv/repeat1975. If you don't know, now you do. Follow this man. He's an excellent broadcaster, and he also does more ARCS racing with us. He does Saturday Night Showdown. If you love trucks, if you just love racing, check him out. Twitch.tv/repeat1975. Pete, we'll see more of you on Saturday. On Monday, the AER Trucks playoffs continue, and then next Thursday night, we take these lovely ARCA cars to the high banks of Daytona. And until that next race, everybody, please stay safe. Do take care of each other, and we will, as